All right. Again, welcome to today's program. It's on alcohol. This is part of Wellness Week. This is part of the Social Change Leadership Series. This is a joint program with the Greek Council, TAMU Student Health Services, the Office of Student Orientation, Leadership, and Engagement. What we're going to do today is present on alcohol and other drugs. That was the original intent. But this was supposed to be presented by SCAN, and I think there was a little bit of on our end, a little bit of challenge. So we are going to just do a presentation that I have not given in 10 years. It's been updated, but it's about alcohol. So we're going to talk about alcohol because tomorrow's Halloween, and part of, I guess, our overall university efforts have been and will continue to be around educating students on making healthy decisions. So I want to preface this all out by one, I'm not an expert in alcohol, but I am one of the TAMU Greek advisors, and I've given alcohol presentations my entire professional career. Number two, a conversation that we'll be having about alcohol in general is, if you're under 21, you shouldn't be drinking. But I'm also realistic. I was a college student just like you were. Let me rephrase that, just like you are. And as a college student, I went ahead and made choices. In those choices, hold on 2 seconds. Made some choices that were, as it relates to myself, that were in alignment with my own personal values, right? So I chose as an undergraduate student under the age of 21 to engage in drinking alcohol. Not saying that's what you should do, but I knew that if I did that, there would be potentially consequences, but I made those decisions being conscious of who I am and what I'm doing. So I'm just going to briefly do this because SCAN is on their way. So they got a little lost. So, but just some basics. Anyway, so some drinks. What is one serving of alcohol? Does anyone know? What is one serving of alcohol? Y'all should know what this is, because I see you all with red Solo cups all the time, right? If the little line, one shot is one drink, right? And then 4 ounces of wine is what? That's one drink. And then a beer, a can of beer, a bottle of beer it has to be 5% alcohol. These are all considered one drink, right? But a red Solo cup has 18 ounces. So if you have a keg or things of that nature, you fill it up. Like I did, make some not so smart choices when I was an undergraduate student. I went ahead and filled it all the way up to the top full of alcohol and ice and a little bit of mixer, right? Because that's what college students tend to do. So in that serving of alcohol, I'm drinking probably 5 to 6 drinks, right? And a couple of things, especially as we move forward to Halloween, is it does affect our bodies and our functions, right? So, right, I'm not going to fully go over this because I'm just kind of stalling a little bit while they're here, but I did want to get some at least key points out of here that our body composition really impacts the way it is. Now, I am 5'2" on a good day, and I weigh whatever I may weigh. So my body's composition, having been drinking for many years, will be different than you, who may be the first time that you have a drink of alcohol or engage in other behavior, right? Especially over the time that you're consuming alcohol. And understanding that as you get older, your brain has different levels across the board. So, right, so this is what our brain looks like, and there's different areas that coordinate, and alcohol impacts different portions of our brain. So, when are you drinking and what is happening? So again, eating doesn't help you sober up while you're drunk. Okay, so if you, like me, sometimes like I'm just gonna go out, drink a little bit, and then I'm like, oh, I didn't eat that much during the day. And so you begin to feel a little bit. So like, I'm just gonna go eat fries or greasy food. That will not help you sober up. And I think that's one of the main important things that you need to, right? Eating while you drink or before you go to sleep after drinking can lessen your hangover. So yeah, you're like, why is he providing this information? The point of this is to help you become smarter as it relates to what we know across the board is alcohol usage in college students, right? We're not saying that you're not going to be doing it. My hope, at least in this little stalling that we have here, is to provide you with some ways to be better at understanding how we are impacted by alcohol, right? So alcohol avoids the normal process of digesting food and drink, right? 20% gets absorbed directly into the blood and then through small intestine, right? It dilutes itself in the water system of our body, which is why people say you can eliminate about half an ounce of alcohol every hour, right? Which is approximately half of a drink, right? So that's why we recommend that folks do it. So alcohol in your body, it affects us different ways. These are ways that your body is impacted with alcohol, understanding that it can cause us to have elevated high blood pressure and a large heart, cause bleeding, internally ulcers. It can also damage your reproductive system, things of that nature. But it really impacts, especially at your age, the brain, right? And on its brain capacity, and the fact that sometimes alcohol, well, not just sometimes, we use it as a coping mechanism, and we're already feeling a little bit overwhelmed, or we're feeling a little bit, sad, depressed. It even affects even more, right? So the more that you drink, the more depressed your brain becomes. So we're already depressed, and we depress it as well, and we continue to drink. We understand that it's going to impact our coordinating movement. It's going to impact our, hi there. It's going to impact our vision, reasoning, emotion. It's also going to impact some other things. I already have an alcohol presentation that I've been given to stall. So, so understanding that and so they can come on up here. They influences their learning, memory, judgment, right? We make some not so smart choices when we do engage in an overuse of alcohol. And so when we have heavy drinkers, it lowers our rate of brain activity and other components there. So I'm going to put a pause here, and then we'll let our friends from SCAN, and then I'll come back and finalize some of the important Greek aspects that we're looking at, okay? So we'll have you come up here real quick.
Student center.
Yeah, that's all right.
We were waiting there. It's like, yeah, I think we're in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Good.
Right over here.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
Let me
Okay.
just switch it up for you. There you go.
All right. I'm gonna buy my coworker a little bit of time because she was walking over here. We were at the wrong building, but how are you guys doing today? They're doing good? Yes, perfect. So my name's Andres Arispe. I work at SCAN. Do you guys know what SCAN is? Yes, no? Yes, well, like I said, I work at SCAN. SCAN is a program basically that gives them multiple services. There's over 30 programs in SCAN. And we're coming in from the Dropping Center. The Dropping Center is located in 1303 Seymour Avenue. We're open. We used to be open 24/7, but now we're only open from Monday to Friday, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Myself and my coworker Michelle Villarreal, she's on her way. I got a ride on a little car. I think she decided to go walking instead. so she's a little bit behind, but yes. So today we're gonna be specifically talking about alcohol and naloxone training at the end, a little bit more at the end, but we're gonna be focusing most of our presentation on alcohol. Just give me a few more moments just to see if my partner shows up. I think she might have gotten a little lost with the new building. What's this class about? Is this just a presentation? Is this a class? Are you guys taking a class here? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Just for the sake of time, we're gonna go ahead and get started. So like I said, we're coming in from the drop-in center. We're located in Seymour, 1303 Seymour Avenue. What the drop-in center does, or what that program, that house has two different programs. It has the RSS program, which is the recovery coaches program. A recovery coach is someone that has gone through recovery, that has gone through recovery for over 6 years. So it's someone that used to be have an addiction, but we don't like to say addiction, we call it substance use disorder. Someone that's been through that process of recovery for over 6 years. And what they do is they offer coaching, they offer services. We have groups Tuesdays and Fridays. And because they have that experience of having to go through recovery, they're able to kind of have that peer-to-peer recovery support. Myself, I'm a community health worker. What I do the most, I do some prevention specialist type of work, which is basically, we have case management. We refer people that are dealing with substance use disorder to programs that is it either within SCAN or border region, or many other programs. We try to fit people and their needs to where they best fit. The other thing we do is we engage with the community. We give these types of presentations all around the community. I was just at George Washington Middle School. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but I was there all day. So it's been a really busy day for me. So yeah, we were fire department. We work with frequently staff. We were just in Staff Academy. We were I don't know. But what's happening right now is that because fentanyl is so cheap to make, they're lacing it on all the drugs, all illicitly manufactured drugs, such as marijuana, Adderall, cocaine, heroin. Those drugs are being laced with fentanyl. But what fentanyl is an opiate. Basically, it's for pain management. If you take it when you're usually after emergency surgery. Oh, there she is. But it is being manufactured illicitly, so that's when the problem comes in. Let's see. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Got started a little bit with that. I'll try to buy you some time.
Had to walk the entire campus. That's fine.
Test. Hello? I think you may have touched this. Test. There we go. We're good now.
Perfect. All right. Like I said, my name's Andres Arispe. I'm a community health worker, and this is
Michelle Villarreal. Nice to meet you guys. I'm out of breath, but good job. So we went over our program already?
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions as far as our program before we start about the actual alcohol? So I'm sure Andres already told you, we do a lot of case management. So if you know individual who's suffering from substance use, which includes alcohol consumption, you're more than welcome to drop by our center. We're one of the only programs and scans, if not the only one that offers transportation. So if you are experiencing substance use and education is something of importance to you, we can bring you to school. You know, we can work a school schedule with you guys as well. So if you know someone who maybe is not in this class, who might be struggling with that, we do provide transportations, gift cards. We do peer-to-peer recovery support. A lot of, you know, with recovery comes, you know, fun stuff too. So like tomorrow's Halloween, so we'll be watching Halloween movies, candy and that good stuff too. So it's not all like, you know, seriousness every single time. Sometimes we do let a little loose here and there. Of course, you know.
And all of our services are completely free, and we help people from the ages 13 and up.
Yeah, so that's
So-
a big one. It's free. So we have, in our program, we don't have licensed counselors, but SCAN does have licensed counselors. So we could always refer you to a counselor at no charge.
The other thing about our program is right now what we're doing, our focus of our program is, yes, we're teaching people how to use Narcan, but also we're giving it out for free. So I'm gonna pass a signing sheet, guys. And I'm gonna ask you guys just to sign in with your information. It's just gonna ask you for your name and basic information. So we can go ahead and give you a Narcan at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, so more importantly, we're here to talk to you guys about alcohol and alcohol consumptions. So we want to let you guys know, you know, what is alcohol? I know it's probably something super simplified for you guys. You know, you guys are adults at this point, so you either have started drinking, hopefully of age, or, you know, you family member, etc. is probably drinking. But what essentially are you consuming? You know, like what are you putting in your body? So alcohol is a dependent substance. So if you do drink it too often, it can become a substance use disorder. So it does a lot of psychological changes. So to your brain, to your body, to the liver, you know, all sorts of organs. So that's very important to keep in mind that when you are consuming alcohol, you are changing your, you know, psychological thinking and your body appearances as well. So alcohol does contain, so the alcohol you consume like wine, beer, and spirits contain ethanol, which is a form of alcohol. And it, like I said, it affects, you know, it affects your bloodstream. So it, when the ethanol enters to your body stream, it passes through the membranes of the cell in your brains, heart, and other organs. So why is this important? Why is this really important to know? Because of the effects of your well-being. So I'm sure you guys probably commonly hear about liver diseases. So that includes cirrhosis and cancer, heart disease, abnormal heart rhythms, hypertension, and stroke. And then, of course, your oral upper digestive tract of cancer, breast cancer, and then alcohol use disorders. So all forms of cancer can affect you if you consume too much alcohol. So what is alcoholism? Can you guys tell me what alcoholism is? It's real simple. It's, you know, you essentially you consume a large amount of alcohol, whether it be a short period of time, like alcohol poisoning, or for a long period of time. So essentially, it's when you become extremely dependent of the substance. So alcoholism is commonly known as alcohol use disorder. So it's a chronic condition, including consuming uncontrollable amount of alcohol. Halloween's tomorrow, guys. Remember, you guys still have school. So keep that in mind. If you guys do something outside of school, that, you know, an uncontrollable amount can, you know, cause side effects of alcoholism. So in the American Society of Addiction Medicine, define alcoholism as a prime and chronic disease with genetic, socio and environmental factors, including its development and manifestation. So this disease is a progressive and can be fatal. And then more importantly, signs of alcoholism. Okay, so early signs of alcoholism. So it's an established patterns of heavy drinking, drinking in dangerous situations, such as when you're driving. Are there any other dangerous situations you guys can think of when it comes to alcohol consumptions? Come on, there has to be something you guys know. Come on. I believe in you guys. You guys are our future. What else is something dangerous when you're driving and you're drinking? What else is dangerous? The what? I'm sorry? Swimming and drinking, you can drown. Yeah. Anything else? If you're working and you're consuming alcohol, you can lose your job. What about when you're drinking and you're in school? Don't lie to me. I'm gonna check your house cup or something. You know, I know tomorrow's Halloween. You know, like drinking at school. Anything else? Maybe some of you guys are parents or have nieces and nephews, and you guys babysit them, right? So those are some things you guys want to think about when you're consuming your alcohol, that how it can lead to alcoholism. Frequent intoxication. I'm sure a lot of y'all drink in the weekends, every weekend. It can lead to alcoholism. Planning activities around alcohol consumption. That's another sign. And thinking about alcohol more frequently. So those are just early signs, guys. As college students, I'm sure some of these have crossed your mind, or you've been in situations like that. So these are just early signs of alcoholism. Now, progressive signs are consuming more alcohol than planned, denying the existence of drinking problems, drinking first thing after waking up. Do you guys know anybody who the very first thing they do is they open that fridge and open up a natty because it's the cheapest beer, right? Maybe somebody might know someone. Experiencing mood swings and personality changes, experiencing symptoms of alcohol withdrawals. Do y'all know what alcohol withdrawals are? Or for the lack of term, a really bad hangover? So alcohol withdrawals, you have the shakes, vomiting, diarrhea, a lot of things, that may resemble a really bad hangover. Body shakes. And then physical signs, you're breaking body parts, you're falling, you're stumbling, you're breaking body parts. Also defecating, urinating yourselves are also physical signs. Dry skin, brittle nails, dehydration, poor hygiene, frequent smells of alcohol in the breath, heavy drinking, weight loss, of neglect of eating in favor of drinking, yellow eyes and skin due to liver damage. So if you reach those yellow eye, that's really fatal. And then college drinking, guys. So this part I really want to emphasize with you guys because you guys are college students. So there was an article posted in the summer of July of 2023. It's under harmful and underage college drinking. And these were some of the important factors that I felt that article really does resonate to you guys. So I'm just going to go ahead and read them out to you guys. So the most recent statistics from the National Institute of Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism estimated that 1,519 college students aged 18 to 24 died from alcohol-related unintentional injuries, including motor vehicle crashes. One thing I did not put in, but I'm sure you guys probably also have read about it, is the things that like fraternities and sororities. I'm sure you guys have probably heard one or two articles or seen it on the news about initiations. They do heavy drinking, try to initiate into a party or into that group, and then they died. I know there's a really big case more upstate where they talked about that. So that peer pressure, guys, that peer pressure is probably the number one thing that really does affect you all. 696,000 students ages 18 to 24 are assaulted by another student who has been drinking. About 1 in 4 college students report experiencing academic difficulties from drinking, such as missing classes and getting behind in schoolwork. More importantly, your professors know. They know that holidays are around the corner. They know that this was Halloween weekend. They know. So, really, I was right in your all's shoes at one point. They do not, they are not messing around when it comes to you guys not getting your schoolwork on time. So make sure that when you guys are participating in things outside of school, that you guys are really focused on your academics, because that is something very important. Other concepts include suicidal attempts, health problems, injuries, unsafe sexual behavior, and driving under the influence of alcohol, as well as vandalism, damage, and the involvement with the police. The first 6 weeks of freshman year are vulnerable time for heavy drinking and alcohol-related consequences because the students' expectations and social pressure at the start of the academic year. Is this a freshman class? No, right? Y'all are really low. I'm kidding. But just keep that in mind. If you guys do have, younger friends, just keep them in mind of that peer pressure. And then this is how we're going to correlate our program to you guys, because like Andres probably mentioned earlier, that we do focus on substance use disorder. Alcohol is very much part of this disorder. However, in our program, being that we are the Narcan training, we have to kind of mix in with the opioids. So something that I felt was very important to let you guys know is the mixture between fentanyl, which is an opioid, and alcohol consumption. Fentanyl alone is a very, very strong substance of an opioid. Do you guys know what an opioid is? Yes? Okay. Who can tell me what an opioid is? I always like to know. Yeah, you did, well, for what? It's closer. Do you know of any common opioids? Maybe aside from fentanyl, like what would your doctor prescribe you? You had back surgery, what would they prescribe you? Anybody? Can anybody think of something that a doctor might prescribe you while you're at the hospital? Morphine? Yeah, morphine is gonna be, your opiate. What about, heroin, which is your semi-synthetic opioid? But your synthetic opioid that they typically prescribe you at the hospital setting is gonna be your tramadol. And then you also have fentanyl that could also be prescribed,
Oxycontin.
what is that?
Oxycontin.
Oxycontin, that's your semi, hydrocodone. There's a lot of different medicines that they can prescribe. But in our presentation, we emphasize a little bit more on fentanyl, just because we are going through a fentanyl crisis here in Laredo. So just before we move on, so fentanyl is 50 times more potent than heroin. Could you imagine when you're drinking and you're taking an opioid? So the alcohol exaggerates the effect of the opioid, taking the fentanyl and the drinking to its heights. So it affects your mental and body to its core. So I want to also really, really push that in.
Okay, guys, so what is fentanyl? Again, fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that's 50 times more stronger than heroin and 100 times more stronger than morphine. And to kind of illustrate the picture of how strong fentanyl is, we have a picture above. As you guys can see, in the first bottle contains the residue at the bottom is what's considered a lethal amount of heroin. So what you can see there. The second bottle contains a lethal amount of fentanyl, which is the powder at the bottom. And then there's something even stronger than fentanyl, which is carfentanil, and you can barely even see the residue there that basically can cause an overdose. So I don't know if we have it on this PowerPoint, but basically in our other PowerPoints, the way we kind of drive the point home on how effective or how potent fentanyl is basically a lethal amount of fentanyl in powdered form fits in the tip of a pencil, and that's enough to get you to overdose. So again, our community is really being affected by fentanyl, and the problem is it's being mixed in with other drugs teens like to experiment with. We were just at schools, and at our schools, we always like to remind the teachers that we've heard all these things called pharmaceutical parties or farm parties, or like teenagers breaking to their parents' medicine cabinets, and they start experimenting with these types of drugs, and they don't even know what they're taking. A lot of the time they think, well, I'm just, taking Adderall or cocaine or whatever. But what they don't know, if they got access to these drugs through an illegal manufacturer or illicit manufacturer, then a lot of the time that these drugs are being laced with fentanyl. So they're experiencing overdoses, and the overdoses in our community are from age ranges all over. So you think it might be something that's affecting adults, but we actually had cases of like children also experiencing overdoses.
So keep that in mind tomorrow when you guys go trick or treating, or when your family members go trick or treating, that just kind of be their second pair of eyes and just really look for their candy. If something's open, discard it. Because there are cases where fentanyl is contaminated with candies. So they make it very, very presentable just to get a new client.
Yeah, and carfentanil is a synthetic opioid that's approximately 100 times more potent than morphine and 100 times more potent than fentanyl. So carfentanil is usually used in veterinary medicine to tranquilize an elephant. And unfortunately, right now in Laredo, we don't have a lot of cases. I don't think we've had any reports of any cases of carfentanil. It's only been in bigger cities. But usually what starts in bigger cities usually ends up trickling down to the smaller communities like Laredo, because Laredo didn't used to have a fentanyl crisis. In 2021, there was only 17 cases reported of fentanyl overdoses. In 2023, there's already 53 cases of overdoses. So that's why our program is really important, that we're passing out this information. We're making our community aware because it's affecting us in a big way.
I remember I read an article that said fentanyl is like the new gateway drug. Pretty sad to think that marijuana was that gateway drug, now fentanyl. So our community is really skipping that marijuana phase and going straight to the hard stuff. But more importantly, fentanyl can be really laced into anything. It can be laced to marijuana, Xanax, Adderall, you name it, it could be possibly laced. So as college students, now y'all gotta stay awake. try to stick to your caffeine, your coffee. Don't get anything off the streets because fentanyl is very much in our community. We cannot push that enough that if you buy it off the street, there's a chances that it's gonna have just the smallest amount of fentanyl in it and cause an overdose. And we've had so many cases of individuals in our recovery shelter centers telling us that they got here because they overdosed on fentanyl while they were smoking marijuana. So they didn't even have a fentanyl, use. They were just buying the recreational marijuana and it was laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
So these are real life case scenarios. I want you guys to know this happening in your community.
I know Adderall is really popular in universities as well. So sometimes I had some friends when I attended TAMU, and some of my friends were taking Adderall and they were buying it illegally. And like right now, I mean, back then it wasn't a problem with like, oh, drugs being laced with something else. But right now, like I know that these drugs are being laced with fentanyl. So again, guys, you have to be really careful about the decisions you guys make. And now just to speak a little bit about naloxone, which is the Narcan. If you guys signed in, we're passing out a signing sheet. You can come get a Narcan at the end of the presentation and also a brochure with our information. But we're gonna go over what naloxone is. Naloxone is actually what the life medicine that's inside, the life-saving medicine that's contained inside the Narcan. The Narcan is just the name of the brand. And this is basically what this does. It prevents an overdose in 2 to 3 minutes. It's safe to use on children, on adults of all ages, and even canine units. Because there's also cops that have their canine units are sniffing for drugs, or even if you right now something that happens is they roll up fentanyl and leave it in dollar bills in the park, so people can have a contact with these things, and hopefully they're hoping to get a new client. Let's say you're walking your dog sniffs something that it wasn't supposed to, like fentanyl, and now it's having an overdose, and you can use Narcan on your dog to save his life. So yes, this works in 2 to 3 minutes. Super easy to use. There's actually 4 types of Narcan or naloxone. We're going to be focusing on B, which is the nasal spray. I know the fire department also uses A as well. They have to build it, put it together, but this is by far the simplest way to use naloxone. So if, let's see, well, okay, you can use up to 10 naloxone sprays in one person. There's 2 in each box. So you can use 5 boxes. After the 10th nasal spray, it becomes a little more dangerous because it is a liquid and you start filling up the person's lungs with liquid. So you don't want to go over that limit. The other thing is that they'll have an expiration date, and we always recommend people don't use them after they expires, because after they expires, the potency starts being reduced. It starts getting weaker. So we always tell people that, we recommend they don't use it afterwards, but if that's the only thing they have in hand, they'll use it because it's still going to work. It's just going to be less effective. And instead of using one, you might have to use 2. And with fentanyl being as strong as it is, the fire department was telling us that they had to use up to 3 to 4 boxes on a single person that's experiencing an overdose. So I want to also go over how to administer it. Oh, no? Okay. So how do you administer Narcan? Very quickly, if you ever see someone having an overdose, you're gonna put them on their back, right? And then you're gonna check for breathing.
Remember, since we do talk about alcohol, there's a chance that someone's drinking, chance that they might have taken a form of opioids.
Yeah.
So we never make the assumption like, oh no, my friend was just drinking, a beer, or they were just taking shots. Never assume that it was just alcohol related.
Mhm.
The person passed out, try to use naloxone.
Yeah. And again, this only reacts to opioids. So even if it has no negative side effects, the only 2 that we tell people about that are not really negative side effects is basically if the person's really dependent on their substance use of choice, they might have symptoms of withdrawal right away. And the other one, if someone's allergic to naloxone, obviously they're going to have an allergic reaction. But in our studies, there's a very small percentage of the population that has an allergy to naloxone. So how do you administer it? You're going to put the person on their back. If they're not breathing, you want to administer first, do CPR on them so they can start breathing again, because this is a nasal spray. And if they're not breathing, they're not going to be able to inhale it, and it's not going to work. Once the person is breathing, you're going to elevate their chin by putting support underneath the neck. You're going to elevate their chin to open up their breathing pathways. You're going to get the Narcan out of the box. You're going to put 2 fingers on top and your thumb on the red trigger. You're going to be really careful with that trigger because it's really sensitive, and you press it by accident, you're going to waste the dosage. So you're going to then take it out of the box, you're going to hold it, you're going to put it up against the person's nostril, you're going to go ahead and press the button, and after that, we're going to put the person in the recovery position. Do you guys know what the recovery position is? It's on their side. underside, you're gonna put one arm underneath the head, and you're gonna roll the leg forward like an L, because we want to prevent them rolling onto their belly. So you're gonna put them on underside for 2 to 3 minutes. In 2 to 3 minutes, this should work. And we always tell people the two things you always do is you always stay with the person that's experiencing the overdose, even though you administer, never leave the person. Because, for example, let's say they wake up from an overdose, but then they might fall back into an overdose, right? Just because they're out of it doesn't mean they can't fall back. Or they're just upset because you took them out of their high and they're gonna go use again. The other thing that you always do is you always want to call emergency services. Because, for example, let's say they're having a different type of overdose, or one box of Narcan is all you have and it didn't work. You're just buying them time for emergency services to arrive, and then they can come and keep the person. So if one of them doesn't work, you're gonna go ahead and put the person in 2 to 3 minutes. You're gonna go ahead and put the person on their back. You're gonna get the other Narcan out of the box. It comes with 2, and you're gonna use it again, elevate their chin, but you're gonna use it in the other nostril, because a lot of the time what happens is one nostril can be blocked. So you're gonna use it on the other one. You're gonna go ahead and press the button to release the dosage. And then again, put them in the recovery position. 2 to 3 minutes pass. Hopefully by then the person either wakes up or emergency services have arrived. So yeah, does
So
anybody
it's
have?
10 nasal spray, but it's 5 and 5.
Yeah.
So it's not be like.
You always want to alternate. Let's say you have 2
Always
boxes.
alternating.
You always want to alternate from one nostril to the other. Again,
Again, it's just buying time. We have to go, if the person comes back, we have to do that. So again, we always have to call, first responders.
yeah. This withstands temperatures of 104 degrees. I know Laredo gets pretty hot, but we still tell people to keep it with them, whether it's their bag or they're underneath their car seat or glove compartment. The only thing you want to do is kind of keep it away from direct sunlight, because that will affect the dosage. And again, it's really safe to use. You're protected under the Good Samaritan law. So if you're worried about getting in legal trouble, you're completely protected. So again, guys, think about Narcan the same way you think of having an EpiPen with you or CPR. It's like something used in an emergency. So it's like really good information to know, because again, we have like over 53 cases of overdoses just this year. Last year we had 41, and the year before that we had 17. So this number is increasing.
It's HEB now, so. Do you know if HEB is selling it? There's a problem. It's $50, but ours are $100. We give them out for free for our community. So if you do know someone who has a substance use, whether that is alcohol or it's an opioid, please have them come to our office. You can give them a quick training, do a peer-to-peer session with them, and provide them the guidance that they need. Questions, guys?
Any questions? No questions.
Well, thank you guys so much for your patience. We really appreciate it. I really hope you guys have a good rest of your day and have a safe Halloween as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna finish the beginning portion, and then we're gonna let them, so if you want to as well, they're gonna be getting some of the Narcan as long as you've signed in on their sign-in sheet. So that we have the Soul sign-in sheet, and then we have the Narcan sign-in sheet, right? That's correct, right?
Yes.
Sorry. So again, we're not gonna fully, you want the pin? There you go. So this is what brains looks like for an alcoholic on the left side of the brain and normal control on the right side. But I want to talk about really what I think is the most impactful for those of you that are Greek members, which is about 90% of you in here, and really college students in general, which is binge drinking. What is binge drinking? Who knows how to define what binge drinking? Because almost all of you have done it if you drink. Tell me, my friend, what's binge drinking? Oh, in an hour? In a sitting, right? So it's in a sitting. It's actually 6 drinks in a sitting, right? So 6 or more drinks in a night. So close, right? So, and I think, why is this really important, right? So y'all, for those of you who've met before, I worked at Washington State University. Washington State University in state of Washington, and the Palouse. This is really all we had to do, right? There's all the college students. It was in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by wheat fields, and that's what college students would tend to do. But they had Cougar football Saturdays because they would play, college football, and they would be win or lose. we booze, right? And that would be a constant refrain of a lot of our members, right? And I think that's part of what it is. And it's like day drinking, all day drinking, and you got to add in all the different components there. But binge drinking's been going on since I was a college student. And when people before me were college students, I really truly believe that we've got to talk a little bit more about like, oh my goodness, it's like 5 hours later and I've already had 6 drinks. Or I played 4 rounds of beer pong and I didn't realize how much alcohol I'm actually consuming, right? Because as they said in their presentation, we make some really not so smart decisions. A lot of Greek students that I would work with, they would get so wasted, a lot of them would get injured, right? When I say injured, a lot of brain damage happened because students would fall out of their fraternity houses or their residence halls, their windows, right? Because they would throw up and, you know, and then ultimately they lose their balance, whatever it is. So they fall down the stairs. At some of the multicultural Greek fraternities parties, they would have in apartments. People would go out to the balcony to throw up over the edge because they drank too much, right? And then what did they do? They fell off the balcony. So we saw more and more increase in alcohol usage based off of binge drinking. So that's why we wanted to talk about today a little bit about Halloween is that time when, regardless of where it is, whether it's at your house or wherever, we're probably binge drinking and or blacking out. I haven't heard here as much people say that they're choosing or aiming to black out, right? Like that was a thing before I came to here from Washington State. Like these students literally said, I'm going to black out tonight. Like that was their number one goal, right? They knew that they wanted to go out and get so shit-faced that they could not remember anything about their experience. And so I want to talk a little bit about that and hangover. So, right. So binging is constantly drinking in a short period of time. So binge drinking is a consumption of large enough amounts of alcohol in a short amount of time, which anytime you're playing a drinking game, you are probably binge drinking, whether you believe so or not, right? And so that is historically, right, a weekend-long episode of heavy drinking that you can't perform. So tonight, or excuse me, in today's days, it's a night-long episode of really just becoming super drunk, right? So definitions have settled on one theory, right? 5-4. More than 5 drinks in one occasion for a guy and more than 4 for a female. I could tell you this right now because I think that it's important to be a little bit more honest and open. Like sometimes I go out, just some of them may not realize that, like I'm an adult too, right? I go out and I probably have more than 5 drinks in that setting, right? In that 5-6 hour period. So it doesn't even matter if you are drinking it in, you know, an hour, it's over an occasion, right? So sometimes we drink more when it's a party or whatever it may be, and then it's 4 for females. So we've talked about what is one alcohol of serving or one serving. So in 4 hours of drinking, if a 175-pound male has 6 Busch Lights, here it's Natty Lights, 2 rums and cokes and 4 shots, holy, you got some BAC that is out of this world, friends. And I mean, this is probably a traditional college-age student's night, right? And I think, well, at least I could say that was how my nights were in college, right? Like, if not more. This is your BAC, friends. Like, that is what it would be. We know our blood alcohol content shoots through the roof based off of our body weight, our height, right? It also goes into, do we have anything in our stomach? These things are important. Does our body metabolize alcohol at higher rates? So it's very important to understand that the legal limit here is 0.08. So if you had 3 drinks, 2 rum and cokes, 3 rum and cokes, or 3 shots, what have you, you're going to have a very high BAC, right? And be very significantly impacted, right? So when we talk about BAC, which our friends from SCAN didn't necessarily get into, but our BAC, when you get into this, our BAC, right, to legally be, not get a DUI, it is a 0.08, right? Which is basically a drink or two in some time. But as you get a couple of drinks in, you're feeling a little tipsy, you're feeling a little fun, what have you, you end up having impaired capacity. And I live over by Jackman, and that's where all the main hangouts for, at least up here in the north near the university, are at. So you got so many bars up there, and you see so many accidents happening up there on Jackman and over by Sinatra, over by the LEA, or excuse me, not LEA, the Sames. You have people that think that they're able to drive when they're not. And there's programs here in the city, also with Uber, that allow you to get some designated drivers to be able to help you get through whatever it may be. So some of this isn't working, but blackouts are literally, I don't remember, right? We talk about this because people do this a lot. And some of you in this room know exactly what I'm talking about, but you just don't want to admit it fully because this is part of our community. And sometimes as Greeks, we do have to actually and actively address the fact that, like, yo, we have our own histories. We have what people already assume they know about our organizations, the fact that we do drink alcohol. Sometimes some of our members do black out. They don't remember exactly what they do, but really, it really can lead to long-term challenges. Not only is there their addiction or, but we know that a lot of college students report making decisions that they regret afterwards. There's study after study after study that says that students that engage in blackout drinking behavior made regrettable decisions, whether it was sexual partners, engaging in unprotected sex, getting into fights, driving, things of that nature as they begin to have blackout experiences. And so we do want to at least acknowledge that, there are some things that we need to be aware of as Greeks, that not only with our friends and the information that we receive from SCAN, but we have this history that's associated with us related to alcohol, right, and blackout. So there's two types. Consuming rapidly, so if we take, we do flip cup or we do beer pong or whatever, we're drinking multiple shots after shots after shots, right? You can have a complete or en blanc or a partial fragmentary blackout. And we know that blackouts, having multiple blackouts at your age, because your brain is still developing, right? Brains continue to develop until about 24 years old. You will have an increased association with alcoholism, right? So en blanc alcohols are the inability to recall any details if you're intoxicated, right? Even if people remind you what happened, you can't remember anything. And I think that's important to recognize, right? We don't know when it begins or when it ends. And I can say, rightfully, not rightfully, but I can admit, that this has happened at least once or twice in my college time. I don't remember anything from that night. And boy, I remember at least starting the night, but I don't remember finishing it. And it's our peer pressure that we're receiving from our fellow peers. It's like, oh, maybe this isn't where I wanted to go or things of that nature. That's where it goes to. But fragmentary blackouts are just partially, right? We only miss or remember a couple of things from the night, right? We only have, we have some triggering that reminds us of something. Alcohol is a toxin, right? Drinking excessive amounts, especially when you're my height, my weight, drinking, even 4 White Claws may cause some people around my height, my weight to need to throw it up, right? To vomit it up, right? Some people believe that the puke and rally, it's this misnomer, right? I'm gonna just keep going, we're gonna throw it up and then do well. No, actually that doesn't work all the time, right? It doesn't work because your body, it's still in your system because it does get absorbed. We talked about this already. 20% gets immediately absorbed through your stomach and areas. So we talked a little bit about passing out here, right? So some people throw up before they go to sleep, or some people just pass out. but we talked a little bit, especially we talked about Narcan and the recovery process for those that have fentanyl or poisoning. And the recovery process for you all, for alcohol in general, is ensuring that they don't stay on their back. So, right, we don't want folks on their back. Why don't we want them on their backs? So they don't choke, right? This is where people across the country, sororities, fraternities, do extremely wrong. And I don't want you to repeat this, right? So they're like, we're gonna put a backpack on him, right? Or put his arms in a backpack and then put a broom behind there so they don't roll over, right? So we put them the right way. We go away to a party. We try to keep them propped up or propped right, but we try to improvise, right? And when we notice this happens, we've seen this in the videos that we've done about hazing, where people, they've consumed so much alcohol during the new member process or whatever Big Brother event that they ultimately become so inebriated they can't walk around, they fall around, they hit themselves. But we also notice that they pass out, right? And they're either going to get brain damage or things of that nature. So I just want to make sure that we're not necessarily doing anything that's going to negatively impact them, because ultimately that's what we're doing, trying to make sure we don't do. So what causes hangovers, right? You are dehydrated. It's poisonous, right? Alcohol can be poisonous for some of it. Too much alcohol depletes the body of our substances like blood sugar, vitamins, minerals, and acute withdrawal from alcohol. And that's what they already talked about from SCAN. We're not trying to prevent it, but understanding that congener is a poison naturally from in drinks that are fermented. So I'm not going to get into the full-on scientific details, but understand that there are different toxins that appropriately we should be mindful of, right? But effects of hangover is really a result of if you have a hangover the next day, right? That's really what I'm trying to get at is if you have a hangover the next day, it is because you drank too much the night before or the day before. Right? Sometimes we're just like, oh, it's just what we're supposed to have to do. No, that means that you were not able to stop yourself, right? So you were having some aversions to, in a reaction to the alcohol, right? Which could be a sign of, as they said earlier, beginning stages of withdrawals, right? So I'm not going to go further into this because we're already at our time, but I wanted to at least acknowledge the fact that one, as college students, you probably are engaging in drinking, but if you're going to engage in drinking below the age of 21, I hope that one, you've had a conversation with your parents and or it aligns with your values. And understand that if you do choose to engage in alcohol, that you're doing it in an effective way, right? Where you know your own body's capacity, right? And that you become aware that you will be held accountable for your actions. So that kind of sums up a little bit of the Greek component that I wanted to add in here. So as we go through here, if you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask myself or our friends from SCAN. If you wanted some of the Narcan, feel free to get some in the back. Thank you all very much. We're already at our time. Have a great one, everybody.